One thing that got brought up in the protective order hearing in 2013 was the ADA, the Assistant District Attorney Stacey Jewett, brought up the death of my mom. I believe they were trying to make me look like I was crazy, knowing that I wasn't, because they know about the police that were under my home and the underground homes and all that. So this is the transcript from that case from that hearing. And Jewett says, and what are you saying that part? I'm asking her, I said, what was your part in the break-ins of my house, the death of my mom, and the murder of my life? I answered. And then she asked me, now what does the death of your mom have to do with the ex-wife? Okay. Well, I went on. I said, well, there was some unanswered questions. So-and-so was with me at the time, but there was some, how do I say it, some unanswered questions that come out of the death of my mom that I actually reported to the police department in Hobbs and to the sheriff's department. And so this was 7 weeks before I was shot. And so I wondered if she had any involvement with the death of my mom. There was a lot of phone calls made that over to Hobbs that day. She had me call my mom an hour before mom died. So but she was absolutely with me. The ex-wife was. I ain't saying. I ain't saying she was there. She was with me when it happened. But that come out in court, and so I wanted to focus on that. And then I did a Facebook post talking about the death of my mom. This has never been posted on TikTok before, and it's really important. It says. At the protective order here, and the ADA brings up death of my mom. I could tell she was trying to make me out to look crazy when I had valid questions about my mom's death. Here's that story. The month before the murder and death of my life, my mom, Ann Webb, died in Hobbs, New Mexico, with still unanswered questions. It was D-Day, or December 7th, 2011. I wondered if her death was connected to the crimes against me. At lunch that day, the ex-wife picked a fight with me and then said, I'm going to your mom and dad's house. I thought that was odd since she barely knew them and we had just got married a couple of months earlier. I told her the first step in divorce is separation, so she didn't go. But if she had, then she would have been there. I later checked the phone records and found 7 phone calls between her phone and Hobbs that day of my mom's death. When I got home from work that evening, she asked me to call my mom and dad to get mailing addresses. I talked with dad a few minutes and then talked to mom, where she said some odd things. Mom said, Buddy Wayne, pray for me. And I said, sure, Mom, I pray for you every night. And her tone of voice changed, and she said, no, Buddy Wayne, I'm serious. She was dead an hour later. That's how serious she was. I later wondered if somebody was in the room with her so she couldn't tell me what was going on, and it reminded me of the Super Bowl 911 commercial where the abused woman calls 911 and orders a pizza. But I was so wrapped up with my problems, I missed her clues. They were supposed to call us back with the mailing addresses, and about an hour later the phone rings. She answered. She said, it's your dad, and gave the phone to me. Dad said, let me talk to your wife. So I handed the phone back to her. I found out that my mom had died by overhearing Dad tell her. I fell to my knees. We were the first call, so I was busy getting hold of family. I texted my oldest daughter, Jennifer, and told her to get to Grandma's house, and I contacted my 2 other kids. My brother was working late at the gas plant, and while the ex was on the phone with Dad, his wife, Mitzi, called her. Okay, and that's where the phone calls were going that day. Okay. We got to Hobbs in about an hour, and when we drove up, Dad came to the house, and he hugged the ex-wife and overheard him tell her, that wasn't so hard. The next day, I asked my brother, Danny, if Dad had given Mom CPR, and he said he didn't know, but he would ask him. With Dad sitting next to him, Danny told me, Dad didn't think to give Mom CPR, and I didn't think to tell him to. That didn't make sense, because how could Danny not think to tell him to if we were the first call and he didn't know yet? And my dad worked in safety and could teach CPR. He was a 3-time national champion mine rescue team leader and in the Mine Rescue Hall of Fame. I don't know what happened to my mom, but I know I was lied to, and the death of my mom isn't some little thing I can forget. A few weeks later, I told the ex-wife that I wanted a divorce, and then after she moved out, I contacted the Hobbs Police Department about what I'd figured out. They forwarded this to the Lee County Sheriff's Department because Mom and Dad lived in the county. Interestingly, the sheriff of Lee County, Rod Kaufman, had supposedly committed suicide and died 2 days before Mom died. I knew Rod and could never see him doing this. Many people wondered if there was more to that story, and I wondered if his death was connected to Mom's death. Anyway, some deputy called me and said he didn't see anything wrong, and that was that. That was done. On the day of the murder attempt, I sent my sister-in-law an email telling her that I'd contacted the police, but I assured her that I couldn't see anybody in our family other than Mom. I later saw where Mitzi forwarded this email to my oldest daughter, Jennifer, a few minutes after I was shot, and Jennifer forwarded it to Detective Rosie Rodriguez around 2 in the morning. It's never been explained how my oldest daughter knows this detective, who was proven to have lied on police reports and tampered with evidence. In a later phone call with Mitzi, I was talking about Mom, and she said, "Bud, she was going to die anyway." And my mouth fell open. I said, "Mitzi, we're all going to die." I'm estranged from most of my family now, but maybe when the crimes against me are stopped, solved, then it would provide answers to what happened with my mom the month before I was shot during a home invasion and with my phone lines cut. And here, and I just wrote when I posted Mom's obituary there, I said, I wonder if Mom knew about the crimes against me and she was going to say something, and she was silent. I really do. And I wanted to post that story right there for everybody.